motivation come from? There are no wrong answers, right? We gotta get,
That's what I was.
come off the cuff with it. As the quicker it comes.
broad strokes, it's either from within or without.
Okay, good. Internal or external?
Internal, external.
There we go. Good start.
You say where they come from?
Yeah. So maybe let's go with internal, external. Do you guys believe you could be externally motivated?
Yeah, you agree.
Okay.
Like friends and family motivate you to get better.
Sure.
Role models.
Yep, so now we're kind of maybe getting into a semantic conversation because motivation and inspiration can be similar, but they're not the same. So you can be inspired, right? If your family says, hey, it would be good for you to do this, and you can take that and maybe use it as motivation. To your point, I feel like this is entirely internal. This is a decisional, choice-making process that we go through. Externally, again, inspiration, you look to mentors, you look to your family, you see things outside of yourself and you say, maybe I want to be like that, or their existence gives me a reason to change who I am and do something different. You're inspired by that. I feel like that's different than motivation. Again, it could be a semantic thing.
Yeah, I'm like, keep thinking of like real basic, primal, like, motivation, like trying to survive.
Yeah,
like trying to like not die. Like that's like internal motivation.
Yeah, and again, it's a pretty primal, pretty biological thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, you don't have to think about that necessarily. Good. So to Mike's point, motivation can be a part of a survival mechanism, and we maybe touched on this a little bit Wednesday. But what if we had motivation to do something beyond surviving? What would that be like?
Gratification.
Gratification, yeah. Maybe even bigger than that.
Be like Maslow's hierarchy of needs.
There we go. Say more, so what does that mean?
I don't know, so the spiritual's up top. The last one to get more.
So kind of what Full is hinting at is like surviving is one thing, but the pinnacle or like thriving is another thing, right? We can all survive and exist without too much effort. Eat, sleep, fuck, fight. You'll survive with those. If you leave it there, that's probably... I mean, again, cavemen probably had a great life, for the most part. They survived. They passed on their genetic heritage. Here we are today. Were they thriving in that environment? Probably not. Probably it was hard as fuck, right? Probably there were challenges on a daily basis where it was like, man, do I really want to navigate this? Maybe not, but I don't have a choice.
It's probably hard as fuck long after that.
Probably still is today for most of us, if we're realistic. Probably hard as fuck is kind of what may have pushed us into addictive behavior in the first place. In some respect. So is this a volitional process? Does motivation just drop on you someday and you're like, God damn it, I gotta change my life? Or is there some process of choice, some process of intention that you go through and then all of a sudden you're like, okay, after all of these decisions and thinking about it, and now I've got the motivation, let's go to it.
Depends
On,
on the person, on whatever you're trying to do.
does it though?
I mean, I think it does.
So, what's an example? What would be something that's different about your motivation than Mike's motivation?
Well, I don't know Mike all that to say, so.
Yeah, it doesn't have to be Mike specifically.
But like, for example, a lot of people take like taking online classes to get certificates to help them, get better jobs.
Sure.
I struggle to do that because I know that there probably isn't someone actually grading my stuff. It's like Google has all these courses and you can totally bullshit your way through them. So I'm not motivated to do it because I know that I can just bullshit my way through it.
This is interesting. You're not motivated because it's too easy and you don't get the feedback that you think you need.
Yes.
And to you, that's not gratifying. To you, that's not motivating.
Well, no, it's not.
Even if you did the stuff and it was easy and you got the certificates?
Yeah, but if I didn't actually work for it, it's not going to work very much, is it?
Good, good. So what I hear you saying is it's not the goal, it's the process that's important to you. Interesting. Anything
I
else
don't
on
think
that?
that motivation has to be necessarily a process. I've been struck with motivation, kind of seemingly out of nowhere, and been like, you know what, I'm gonna get that shit done today.
Yeah.
I've gotta do that today.
Awesome.
And I don't feel like I went through a big process of becoming motivated to do a particular thing.
Excuse me. Are you saying that it came from a vacuum? That there was a void?
No, I think, you know, maybe there was other things in play. Maybe it was fear-based, or maybe there was an emotion associated with me having that snap, like, I need to get X, Y, Z done, and being motivated to do that.
Mhm.
But I think your original question was like, is it a process of things that contribute, or can you just derive motivation out of nowhere?
Mhm. And so you just answered the question by saying you felt the spark, but also there was a whole bunch of things that added up to the spark.
Sure, yeah, yeah.
So again, it's not necessarily that it comes from nowhere and it happens instantaneously. It may feel like the eureka moment, the light bulb that we see in cartoons, but actually there's probably a lot of intention and thought and choice that went into those processes until everything.
Right, just might not be active thought, but there are things in the background, sure.
Well, because couldn't you say like your environment invokes like motivation too?
It could.
So like alright, let me make sure I know what to say. Like an aspect of like getting into rehab or getting into recovery or something like that. Pain or, I don't know, misfortune or whatever, however you want to word it, being an external motivator, being like, I physically don't want to go through this anymore. And that would kind of drive you to try to be better.
Sure. I think so.
I just figured somebody just went on a tangent.
No, that's great. There's no wrong answers. Again, I don't have all the answers. I hope you guys don't assume that I do. Right? We're all here together. We all have had experiences, and I'll repeat that 100 times because the value of being in a group is that we all get to kind of toss something in here and hopefully drive some benefit from any of it. Anything else on motivation? I just want to lay the groundwork because you guys are right on track, right? We kind of have some idea of like where it comes from, some of the things that are required to have some motivation, maybe the understanding of the difference between inspiration and motivation, right? Because all of these are internal and subjective and personal, right? And I think these allow us to make an equation that can equal motivation, right? Irrespective of sort of our circumstances or anything external to us. Does anyone disagree? You guys want to fight about it?
I was just gonna say, for me, inspiration, I feel is like a big motivator. I feel like it can start as inspiration, but then that will lead to motivating me.
Yeah.
Because I'm not very much one for the stick.
Yeah.
I really don't give a fuck about the stick.
Yeah.
Anytime I've made like big changes, it's because I came across somebody I admired,
Mhm.
and I wanted to be more like them.
Mm-hmm.
And then I've changed my values even.
Mm-hmm.
And that's been negative and positive.
Sure.
But I mean, I think I don't know what you say, but that's just for me.
Yeah.
But I think it's because I'm more like the dog on the leash that's like pissed off he's tied up, so he'll just wrap himself around the tree and like I don't care how much it hurts. Like it's like fuck you, fuck the leash.
Mm-hmm.
Like me, I'm more like that. Like I think the inspiration that leads to motivation.
Yeah, and I think that's the important equation, right? This is why we talk about in recovery, like you can't hang out in the same place and go hang out with the same people. Because even if you stay internally motivated, there's going to be those external pressures, those external inspirations that can lead to negative things, right? Just like positively, if you meet somebody who has whatever their shit together or is inspiring, that can lead you to adopt or emulate some of their behaviors, and now you become motivated yourself. So that's an important part of the equation, for sure. Okay, do you guys understand the difference between these 4 words?
Yes.
Yeah, they're different. And why are they different? Or what is the difference between some of these? Like, why are values and meaning not the same thing?
I would say your values are right based on beliefs. Because you believe about something in a certain way, which would lead to a value, I guess, is how I look at it.
Could be, yeah. And this is the fun part about these 4 words for me, because they could be hierarchical. You could kind of like mix these up in a variety of ways. They do all impact each other, but I wrote them this way specifically. Could you start with goals?
No.
You can, but I think if it's based off of your values, it's going to be something that lasts for a lifetime, really.
It's be something that matters to you.
The goals have to come from somewhere. You
Goals
don't
have to
you don't
come
just
from
wake up and be like, I have a goal today. It's just out of nowhere.
Nobody does that.
Yeah.
Yeah, right. What about beliefs?
Well, beliefs have to come from values because you value something. So say you value wealth or something. I don't know, you value wealth, and so then you believe that you should work towards acquiring more wealth. You know, and that's what your belief is. But your belief stems from what you're valuing.
Good. So again, not to play a semantic game, but what you're talking about is worth. Okay, and I want to make a distinction. Value is not worth. Values are sort of like the internal drivers that allow us to interact with the world in a meaningful way. So when you talk about wealth being a value, think more of like, what is the importance of wealth?
Success would be maybe about.
You're even getting closer, but what is the importance of success?
Security?
There. So security would be a value related to having access to wealth. You understand the difference? Yeah, it's not about worth. It's not about a thing that has value in the sense of what it costs, right? These are internal, try not to mix my words up. I'm going to say characteristics that guide how you exist. So, very briefly, let's just put a couple up on the board. What are some other values that guide how you exist?
Like uniqueness.
Yes, so maybe, could I say authenticity?
Yeah.
Okay.
I was gonna say honesty.
Yeah.
Kindness.
I'm on a chalkboard here, hold on. You said honesty?
Yeah.
Kindness. Let's do 3 more, just for
Openness.
openness, good. What else?
Perseverance.
Perseverance, love that. One more.
Equality.
Say it again.
Equality.
You said quality?
Equality.
Equality, nice. Okay, so, and they're, not infinite, but there are a slew of values. So just to make sure we understand the concept, if authenticity is a value, how does that affect how you exist in the world?
For me, it affects, I get pissed when people are inauthentic and like not genuine.
Say it one more time.
I feel like I get pissed and when people are like aren't genuine, or if I'm perceiving that they're not genuine, I guess.
Like when people are the opposite.
Because I feel like I've read a book kind of on this, and it said like it was like discovering your values. And one method was like a lot of times when you get pissed off or really irritated, that's because one of your values is being crossed or violated, and so like that's something that really irritates me is when I feel like people are being fake or inauthentic.
How do you know when they're not?
I'm pretty intuitive. Body language is a huge part. Body language, eye contact. Like I don't really care. I mean, I'll listen to what you're saying, but I'm paying attention even more to like what your bodies do it, their eyes, their actions, you know, saying kind of, you weren't there, but, you know, kind of saying you're gonna do something and then not doing it. There's probably a different value for that than it kind of aligns with that.
But basically, your powers of observation. You can check people out and see some things are not matching up.
Yeah, I'd say I'm really intuitive. Yeah.
So again, kind of to the point, but what might it look like for you guys to show up authentically as yourselves? What does that mean? How does that look?
Probably participating
Sure.
in the program or whatever it may be.
It also means not to mask what's going on under the surface.
So maybe vulnerability.
Well, just being open.
Yeah, there's a big honesty piece in that
There is a
too.
big honesty piece in that too.
It's very easy to present yourself in a way that you feel you should versus how you are.
Love that. We could go all around for hours about should, right? Where does should come from?
Society.
Mostly, yeah. That's the easy answer, right? Maybe your parents, maybe who raised you, right? There's some. You know,
Yeah, but they're all learning it from the same place. The
So
same pool.
yeah, so we get conditioned, right? We get sort of like socialized in certain ways. So there's intention and there's effort here, right? You have to do this willingly and again by choice. You can't show up authentic on a whim, right? What about kindness or equality or perseverance? How do these impact the way that we behave in the world?
I mean, like, kind of what Foley was saying, like, because kindness is generally one of mine. I could put it into a bunch of different examples, but like people just like being dicks to the other people, like for no reason, kind of like pisses me off. And I think that's because that's like a big value of mine.
Yeah, so I hear what you guys are. Okay, so let me try to rephrase so I can be a little bit more clear. So both those examples are kind of like you observing other people and you seeing that people aren't doing a thing that you hold to be valuable. What I'm asking you is, if kindness is a value, how do you behave living that value?
Oh, like generally kind to like everybody,
Yeah.
unless like you give me a reason not to.
Unless you give you, yeah. So the point is that values they're not conditional. You guys understand? If it's a conditional thing, it's not a value. It may be a way that you believe about the world, but if there are things that can come in and they can disrupt you in your authenticity, then there needs to be something else that buttresses your authenticity so it doesn't rely on the external circumstances, right? If you're going to be authentic, you have to be authentic regardless, right? If you're going to be kind, right, you function in the world as a kind person unless, what? Somebody gives you a reason not to.
And then I wouldn't even say like go the opposite.
Exactly.
I remove myself.
Yeah, exactly. You don't change your value. What you do is remove the external stimulus that's negatively interacting with your value.
Yeah.
Right.
So you're not saying if, like, you don't practice it with everybody all the time, then it's not a value?
Right, no. I don't want to say this isn't about perfection, this isn't about 100%. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying instead of changing his value to decide to be an asshole, Mike can see a situation where,
Okay.
right, you don't change yourself, you remove yourself from the external circumstance, and now you don't have to show up differently than who you are. You just remove yourself from the thing that is negatively impacting your value.
Okay, yeah.
Is making sense?
So would you say that values are kind of like things that help you structure your life in a certain way?
Yeah, absolutely. That's a great way to phrase it. And again, to Foley's point, these aren't like things that happen 100% of the time, and these aren't things that happen in a deterministic way, meaning like if you choose to have kindness as a value, that's probably a result of like lived experience and a whole lot of things that make you decide that. There's gonna have to be a pretty big significant change for this to not be a value at some point in your life, right? Just to kind of riff on your example, maybe Mike goes through a series of terrible losses. His family dies in a car crash. He's dealing with a whole bunch of grief and anger and sadness. Is it going to be hard for him to get to kindness? Probably, right? Could he turn into a curmudgeonly old man who says fuck you to everybody he meets for the rest of his life? There's that potential, right? If he doesn't figure out how to metabolize that grief, if he doesn't figure out how to process that trauma and get back to living life in a meaningful way, that set of experiences could shift his values in a negative direction. Does that make sense? Okay? So again, what I want to make sure we understand is that these are not conditional, right? In the sense that they don't change on a daily basis. You're a kind person all the time. If you turn out to be a curmudgeonly old man, did your values change? Yes, but it was because of some significant thing that shifted who you are as a person. Make sense? Okay. So knowing that these are the things that are sort of like the bedrock, the cornerstone of who we are as people, how do they lead to beliefs? Or maybe let's take one step back. What are beliefs?
Right, just repeated thoughts about how you perceive the world.
Exactly. Repeated thoughts about how you perceive the world. Again, maybe based on a series of experiences you've had. Maybe because somebody tells you something over and over and over again, and you internalize that, whether positive or negative. Is it connected to your values? I think it has to be, in some way, right? So when we get to beliefs, if we know that they're, at least in some respect, based on the things that we hold near and dear and true to ourselves, and we also know that in some respect they're at least related to our external environment, how can these inform how we behave?
Well, I guess I'll just use an example. If you value kindness and you believe that you should be kind to other people and other people should be kind to other people, and so that kind of dictates how you approach social situations.
Right. It impacts your behavior.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
I feel like beliefs are kind of partially, some of it doesn't actually have to be like directly connected to values, but sometimes it can be.
Sure.
And I think there's like a distinction between, say, for example, having a value that honesty is important and believing that you should always tell the truth. Just to give an extreme example.
You want to say more? That's an interesting example.
Well, I mean, I just think that like people have to lie every once in a while. Sometimes you don't want to hurt your friend's feelings or make a situation awkward.
Interesting.
And so, you make excuses for yourself.
Right. So now we have values that inform beliefs, but both of those can go away in service of what?
Yourself in that example.
Or another
Well,
value or belief.
Maybe and maybe.
Well, yeah.
Because
so,
telling a lie that goes against both your beliefs and values with the idea that it could protect your friend's feelings is serving whom?
The social construct seems like it's bound to like a social construct of you.
it might be serving another value.
Or
Could be.
it's like you're trying to fit in with,
But
But yeah, I'm the totally opposite.
no, but that's interesting. Because think so it's a social contract, right? There's this idea that you don't want to hurt your friend's feelings. But how many of us would like friends that aren't honest with us? I wouldn't either, right? I would want people to tell me the truth, even if it was shit on my face. Because my value of honesty is not conditional. Whoa.
Okay.
There's a painting there.
Everybody's done it.
Like a perfect example is like if I'm running around all day with a booger on my nose and I finally encounter one of my friends who's like, dude, you got shit in your nose.
Yeah.
Then I go and give shit to everybody I encounter throughout the whole day.
Exactly.
Like, you guys obviously don't.
You
fucking
fuckers
do
don't
it.
get shit.
Oh, wait, look at this. Like,
Yeah,
dude, I have
exactly.
booger in my nose.
Exactly.
If I
Just
know
tell me.
somebody-
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm gonna tell them.
Good example. You guys see the pattern I'm kind of setting up, the equation I'm setting up here? So, beliefs. What are some beliefs? We could base them off these values, but what are some ways that you guys believe about the world?
I believe that kindness is infectious, and that when you act kind to people, it will improve your day and their day.
Okay, so I'm gonna paraphrase and say the golden rule. If you treat others some way, you'll get treated that same way.
Right.
It's entirely a fallacy, but I like it. Right, we have this idea that good things happen to good people, and if I'm a good person, then I'll be all right.
If you,
Or you're making somebody's day better, and that's a good thing.
Yeah, there's nothing, yeah.
if you value perseverance, then you believe in hard work. Would that be?
If you value perseverance, yeah, I like where you're going. Can somebody maybe articulate it or refine it a little bit better? Let's see.
I think if you believe in perseverance, that you can get through hard times in your
Like
life.
not giving up.
That you,
Does that kind of go? Not giving up?
Yeah.
Yeah.
it's kind of simple.
Yeah. Okay, okay, yeah, not giving up. No giving up. What else? And again, just a brief pause. The reason I throw stuff up like this on the board is because we need to get better at talking about this shit. Right? Every time I put something up here and all of us are just like, it's not because we don't know. It's not because you guys don't have experiences that are relevant to this shit. It's that we don't very often have time and opportunity to sit down and be like, what the fuck does that mean? So,
This one's kind of hard for me,
Okay.
just because I feel like I'd split hairs or I could go down a million rabbit holes, but like with Zen and Carlos Castaneda, they're like, it's actively like, and I practice it, getting rid of beliefs.
yeah.
Like,
And I love this because
and just experiencing the world as it is without filtering it through beliefs all the time.
exactly.
So I feel like there's kind of levels to it. Like these are kind of trying to level up, where it's more like super ethereal base.
Yeah. Good.
Level.
Good. So beliefs inform our worldview. Right? Every time that we add one of these, every time I write something up here, it shrinks our experience. Right? If these 4 beliefs, if I wrote 4 up there, are the things that we hold true, then by default, sort of, everything outside of those is untrue or inaccessible for us. So if we allow ourselves to put all of these ideas in our head about what the world is and who people are and what I am myself, each one of those is that little tiny box where you're like, okay, outside of this box doesn't exist, isn't real, I don't have access to it.
Kind of like right along the lines with the 4 agreements. The agreements are agreements how you choose to view and relate to the world.
Yeah.
So in a way, I feel like you're saying you either have to believe in everything or nothing.
No. And again, so this isn't about 100%. This is about trying to bring awareness to your processes. I don't want you to believe everything and I don't want you to believe nothing. I want you to be aware of what it is you believe and try to explain to me what the value of those beliefs are for you. So again, in terms of sobriety, recovery, being in treatment, you guys all came here for some set number of reasons. You had some idea about why you didn't want to be where you were and how you wanted to be somewhere different and how this place could help you hopefully not be there and get somewhere else. Whether that was all conscious and you wrote it down and you were articulate about it or not, probably not, because you were probably coming off of using whatever you were using and your mind was fucked and you just were looking for some relief. Great, that's awesome. That's a great way to do it. But now, with a sober mind, with the understanding that you want to be different in some way, shape, or form, do the beliefs that you had prior to getting to treatment, are they helping you through this process? Are they, building you up in ways that are positive? Are you holding on to them for the safety and security that they brought? All of those are valid. But do you, go ahead.
So you're kind of getting being aware of your beliefs to see how they could be limiting you in negative ways, and if they are, then maybe deconstructing those or altering those.
He's a paid actor. He had the script before him. He read ahead. Exactly, right?
You're talking about reviewing your beliefs.
I'm talking about making sure that if these things are part of your life, that they line up in a way that makes sense, that they create some kind of equation that you can look at or tell your kids about or talk with a counselor about, and we can both say, you know what, yeah, I think you're on the right path. I think the trajectory of all of these things that we've talked about does add up to you, whatever, maintaining sobriety, being the best version of yourself, however you want to phrase it.
Something that my therapist always talks to me about is the idea of fixed mindsets,
Mhm.
which is usually when I'm talking very fatalistically about something.
What was the word?
Fatalistically.
Fatalistically, yes.
Yeah. Just like I'm never gonna get a job, or this job is not gonna go somewhere anywhere, or I'm never gonna be able to be sober.
Mhm.
I probably said to him at some point.
Yeah.
And he usually tries to challenge me about it. Usually I can tell he's gonna ask me that's a fixed mindset. Because they're not always useful.
No.
I'm still struggling with a lot of the same thoughts I had when I was drinking, even now.
And this is why I say that, like, stopping drinking or stopping using is the easiest part of sobriety. Just don't put the substance in your body. Does it address the reason behind why you're drinking? Does it address whatever the emotional, physical, spiritual distress that you're experiencing that leads you to addiction? It doesn't, right? That was great, thank you. Anything else about beliefs? Okay, so again, your values should inform your beliefs. That's a reasonable connection to make. If something is important to you, it should impact how you think about yourself and how you think about the world. I said should, fuck. Okay, so values and beliefs lead us to creating meaning. What is meaning? It's so philosophical.
I want to say it's what you get value out of. I feel like that's
a
not
bit
the answer.
circular, a bit circular.
Yeah.
It's in the right direction though. We could maybe just say the things that are important to you.
Okay.
Could be. What else?
Something you connect with.
So what do you mean by connect? I don't know.
It's something that you relate to.
Does that feel strong enough?
I feel like meaning is not the reason,
I was
but it's
gonna say-
how the reason why you do the things that you do.
Reason. What was the word you used, Zach?
The thing you connect with.
Connect. I like to use resonate. Kids these days vibe with it. Like, meaning is like this general sense, and I don't use the word lightly, but the feeling that the thing that's happening is the thing that's supposed to be happening. And that's so broad in general, but it's like, if you're here for some kind of reason and value, there's an importance to you being here doing the thing.
Doesn't meaning kind of give substance to your life?
Substance, absolutely. I mean, let's use it, let's be more articulate. And substance in this term, right, in this area, means like something sort of negative. So what's another?
Oh, yeah.
Substance
Right,
is
yeah,
substance.
we don't want to do substance necessarily.
Meaning, I wanted to say like, oh, meaning gives your life meaning.
Yeah.
Sour.
Material, but that might be.
It's kind of where my mind's going. It's like the fabric of what matters. I don't know, that doesn't make it.
Fabric of
I
what?
don't know.
I'm just gonna write that down so I can remember it.
It's weird. I feel like I'm halfway to an idea there.
But that's to the point, right?
Like the essence.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it.
Essence.
Meaning could be something that drives you.
It can be, absolutely.
Going back to what I was saying, I feel like that's one thing I struggle with though is, I mean, a lot of people probably won't agree with me, but I feel like a lot of my beliefs are only there because I've constructed them. So, like base level, like the meaning is only contingent upon what beliefs you're holding, and I kind of go beyond that. I'm like, well, either path is equal. You know, there's a million paths. We're all going nowhere. And so I kind of struggle with that, like motivating myself to like choose the better one, just knowing it's inherently not better than me dying with a needle in my arm. And on a base level, in the scheme of things, you know, it's like in Zen, there's a story about a flower that's grown in the backyard. Nobody sees it, you know, all the flowers in the flower bed up front are getting their photos taken, and then a dog comes and steps on it. And like, its essence, it still grew to be what it needed to be. It still had its little span in life. No flower's better than the other, because one's, you know, up at the front of the house, getting the pictures taken and seen on the postcards. The other one, nobody saw, and then the dog stepped on it. Like, and I struggle with that because to give myself that false meaning, it's kind of like I've taken whatever the red pill, and I know it's only got meaning because I've given it meaning. It's not, and so it's almost like not as motivating had I probably didn't know that.
I love this. I love this. We are going to have some fabulous conversations. So let's think about what your example. So let's take something like nihilism. Right? Nihilism is a philosophy that nothing matters.
Yeah.
Well, if it didn't matter, why are we talking about it? If it didn't matter, why did we create a whole philosophical, there are books and studies and professors, right? Why didn't nihilism just go away?
If it had no meaning, why didn't it go away?
If the flower didn't have any meaning, we wouldn't have talked about the flower. There would be no story. There would be no counterpart from the flower in front to the flower in back.
I think it had meaning. It's just the meaning, you can't even talk about it. The meaning was the fact that it lived. It was its essence. There was no, yeah.
Same for you, right? The only value that you will get out of existing is the value that you get out of existing. If you make the choice to die with a needle in your arm, then that's the value that you decided to put on yourself. And I'm not saying that you will, but I'm saying that the value, all of this is subjective. I can't judge you for making that choice because I don't know why you would make that choice. But if you know why you made that choice, then that is the value that you put on it. That did give you meaning in some sense. And again, we're getting broad and philosophical here, but there's no wrong way to exist. In my mind, there's no such thing as good or bad because who gets to determine those?
Yeah, that's what I was going to get at.
But also, if they don't matter, why do we keep talking about it?
Because you wrote a book on the board.
Exactly, and I'm not trying to twist our heads up here about a semantic philosophical conversation, but I'm saying like, people can talk about like, oh, shit doesn't matter, and it's like, well, then why are you bringing it up?
I mean,
How is it holding your attention?
there is also like another philosophical, mindset of existentialism, which is that nothing matters, and so you need to make your own meaning.
But this is exactly what I'm saying. Like, existentialism is the thing that says the only meaning that matters is what you choose to put meaning on.
Right.
Right. So if you're a nihilist and you're still alive, you're a fucking faker. If you haven't killed yourself already and you're still talking about it, then you're not really a nihilist because you still made the choice to be here and you feel like life continues on for some reason, you just don't like it. You guys understand? Like, there's no way to get away from this. There's no way to not have meaning in your existence. Right? We look at people who make choices that negatively impact them and negatively impact others, and we're like, oh, those are bad people, and they're doing a wrong thing, and blah, 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 blah. And it's like, how the fuck do you know? Right? This is why I always, you guys have heard it many times. Nobody's coming to save you. Nobody has the answers to your specific quandary about how you should exist except you. Can we have conversations about it, and maybe can other people facilitate pulling those answers out of you, or maybe provide you with some insight that helps you clarify that? Absolutely.
Have you heard of Carlos Castaneda?
Yeah.
Guy's got a good quote right along the lines where he's kind of like, anything's one of a million paths, one's not really necessarily better than the other. The only thing is choosing a path with heart.
Choosing a path with heart, exactly. The only way you can fuck this up is to not participate. And even then you're gone. Nobody's talking about you anyway. How does that lead us to goals? If you understand what your values are, intrinsically, internally, what's important to you, and you construct beliefs about yourself and the world based on these values, and you get to choose the things that provide meaning in your life, how do goals come into this?
Goals help accomplish you achieving that meaning.
And then search for meaning.
I'm gonna search for meaning, good book. Say it one more time.
The goals help you accomplish what gives you meaning.
So you're saying that meaning, okay, goals help you accomplish what gives you meaning. So you're saying goals are necessary to have meaning in life?
Well, so you have meaning in your life, whatever that meaning may be,
Yep.
and then you use goals to reinforce that meaning, I guess.
So why can't we stop right here?
I think goals help you put action behind
Aha!
your
Yeah.
values.
Exactly.
You were getting close, you were on track.
Yeah.
The action part of it.
Because you can't just achieve meaning without working towards it,
Aha!
you know?
I love this. Paid actor. Right, so this is the part that allows us to actually behave in a way that allows us to reference all these things. Right? And I've told you, I've talked to you guys about it, and we're going to talk about it more. I also think goals is problematic. Right? Because it implies there's some sort of end point. It implies there's some thing to achieve, and then there doesn't need to be any attention put on it again. Most of life is not that way. So instead of goals, we'll talk about forecasting quite a lot. I'll write it up here.
Would it be better to say like aspirations
Aspirations could be.
instead of goals? Because
And my idea again is like Floyd's been talking about, like the trajectory is the important thing. Like David mentioned, the process, the journey, these are the things that are interesting and important and valuable. Getting to some endpoint and checking it off your list and never looking at something again feels really reductionist to me. Right? Because then you had this thing that was for so long, it was so important, and it was your whole world, and you got the goal, and then you just give yourself a gold star and then don't ever talk about it again. I guess you could, but
Maybe a better word is actualization.
yeah, and
It doesn't have the word end in parentheses in front of it, like goals does.
yeah. And also, it remains flexible. For you to actualize something, you have to constantly reference these things. Right? Whereas a goal is just like, I see that endpoint, and fuck whatever's going on behind me, I'm just moving toward that thing. Right? Where to actualize yourself, you're like, is it still important to me? Is this the way I still think about the world? Is this still the way that, right, my internal, the core of my being wants to behave and exist? So kind of to your point, this becomes a cycle, right? It's written up here linearly, but if I get to a goal and I do choose that as an endpoint, I still have the opportunity to reflect, right? To look back on like, okay, I did an accomplishment. Was that accomplishment meaningful to me? Was it fed by beliefs that I hold true, that were informed by values that are the most important thing to me? Right?
yeah. Well, you're going to constantly have new goals because there's going to be constantly new situations arising in your life.
Well, there could be. I know lots of people who live their entire lives without setting goals or accomplishing things.
This reminds me of the book Infinite Games, where there's infinite games and finite games, and infinite games, the whole purpose is you basically continually rewrite the rules to continue to play. It's not about winning or losing.
Thank you, Jesus. Hallelujah.
So there could be finite games or goals, but I feel like if you gear them towards like the infinite, that'd probably be more conducive, I guess.
Yeah, for sure. So how does this work with sobriety?
ongoing process that's forever gonna needs to have the feedback loop of tweaking my values or beliefs when I need to, being aware when they're not conducive to what I'm trying to accomplish, and re-examining things that used to give me meaning, if they're gonna just lead me back to the same stuff, you know, and then the goals that follow to be in line with all that.
If your goal was to stay sober, wouldn't that technically, you would never reach that goal until you died? Because if your goal is to stay sober, you're just going to want to stay sober for the rest of your life, right? So then once you die, it's like, well, he reached the goal, he was sober. That's just like...
Indeed. I mean, it's the exact reason why I feel like this word is problematic when we talk about treatment and things like sobriety.
I mean, you can also think of sobriety as just the challenges along the way.
Absolutely.
Maybe like you have like a difficult family gathering coming up, and you know that maybe everyone is going to be drinking, or that you've gotten into fights that have been and so you're mentally preparing yourself to deal with it without drinking.
Mm-hmm. So you make it through the party and you accomplish your goal.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
For me, addiction got in the way of a lot of my values and beliefs, and I think that there's sometimes a hierarchy to values and beliefs and meaning and things that you assign more value to. And for me, one of my meanings was to get fucked up all the time, and then it started to take away from all of my other values, beliefs, and meanings. So re-examining those and reordering what's important is something that I've been doing in sobriety. It's been challenging and helpful. That's one of the ways that I look at, sobriety is revaluing and reorganizing what my values, beliefs, and meaning in life is.
Yeah, I kind of second what he said, because my head went to like inactive addiction. Like, let's say for example, for me, I value honesty, but when I was in my addiction, obviously I wasn't being honest. Therefore, I was kind of like setting a lot of my values aside so that I could get high.
Mm-hmm.
So sobriety was like trying to like reassess and figure out what actually gives me meaning, what I actually believe in, and what I value and stuff. These early sobriety was for sure.
Yeah, that's part of why I brought this today, is because, especially in early sobriety, right, there's this sort of mind fuck that goes on, right, where all of that stuff comes back in a very realistic way, right, where you're no longer able to kind of distract yourself or ignore, whatever distress, whatever life is giving you, right, and now you have to really start to be very intentional about parsing apart, like, what is who I am, right, versus what is, the debris from the addiction, right? And really starting to like dig into like, wow, I kind of have to, this is why transformation is such a big word for me in treatment, where it's like you don't have a choice. Like if you don't, then the likelihood that you'll get back into that cycle is pretty high. If you do, transform, then again, you've got all this stuff kind of nailed down to a degree, right? At least to where you can get back into functioning as a healthy human being. So how does that work, right? If these things are so intrinsic to who we are and how we behave, how do we get to a point that addiction seems like the better choice?
I think there's biological reasons, probably. I guess that's
Like,
just like the whole dopamine reward system and it tricking your brain into thinking like, hey, this is a noticeable event, take note,
sure. So there could be like physiological factors, there could be
I think that's what eats away at this initially, probably. I mean, because I think these are kind of hard to get away from. That's why it seemed, I feel like you hear the story, like, you know, their values kind of slowly withered away. I feel like that eats away at it a little bit.
It could be. So you're saying there's like some physical discomfort, or there's like a thing that's telling you that it actually does feel good, and by focusing on that, you can kind of let these go because that feels as good as it feels.
Yeah, 'cause, I mean, even when I'm getting high, I still have a lot of the values. If anything, a lot of the negative stuff I do is like more inward.
Mm-hmm.
Probably the most negative thing I really do to people outwardly is, if anything, just my removal, isolating.
Not having your presence.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like I do hold a lot of those values still, just I'm getting fucked up, but I don't hold them to myself at all, you know, I'm being, you know, rude to myself or just not taking care of myself. But, I mean, yeah, I think it just slowly withers, at least for me, I think it's just, I'm thinking about, you know, the sex while I'm high or this and that, and then it's just like, well, I don't need to call my mom, or I don't need to hit my family up. And I mean, yeah, I think it's at least a part of it.
I
Yeah.
agree, for sure. What else, Mike?
Well, kind of going back to like the example you were using for me, like if you go through like some drastic event that shifts your values, or like to where, you know, you have like this crazy loss or dealing with this crazy grief, to where like you don't really care about anything, any of your values, so that you can drive towards just like, you know, addiction pretty easy.
So the external circumstances become overwhelming.
That's what I was gonna say.
Yeah, that's legit for sure.
Was the question, why do you gravitate toward substance in favor of something else? Maybe I didn't-
Or why do you gravitate toward addiction despite holding values that are counter to that kind of existence?
Maybe there's a vacuum of alternatives. There are no alternatives. There are no other ways or tools that you have for coping with.
Interesting.
Coping with life.
So even if you hold some of these values, eventually they go away in favor of
If you don't,
substance use?
if you don't have alternate tools, then I think so. If you didn't learn those tools before life, the struggles of life hit you.
Yeah, I think also sometimes you can, I mean, drugs fucked my mind up so bad, I thought that I was still living within my values and beliefs when I wasn't. You know,
And what let you believe that you were still living in your values? Because we got to the point where we said that the action is the thing that lets us know that all of this equation matches up.
yeah, well, I mean, you know, because first of all, I was not examining my values, beliefs, and meaning, but things were going okay. You know, I wasn't, you know,
Which is so funny. I love okay. You did okay on Wednesday too. It's okay.
yeah.
I'm fine. Like
It's a-
what about it was fine? What about it was okay?
But to add that you're satisfied.
No, I mean, at that moment when I was in active addiction, I thought everything was okay. I thought, oh, I have a relationship, I have a job, I'm okay, this is okay.
Yeah.
It was not
Yeah.
okay. You know, all of that shit was crumbling around me, but I had convinced myself that it was okay.
The problem with okay is that it's just okay.
And it was not okay.
And it wasn't okay.
It was
Even
very
if
far
you
from
went
okay.
to
Not even fucking close to it.
Yeah, yeah. Good.
Yeah, re-examining mine, I guess, honestly, like, all my values left, because the way I look at it just hit me, if I'm totally indifferent to everything going around me, then I'm not being any of those things. I just always viewed it more as like, well, I'm not doing their opposite.
Sure.
You know, I'm not being rude, I'm not being just total dickhead.
Yeah.
But it's kind of like they say, like, even worse than like hatred is apathy or
Yeah.
indifference. Like,
Yeah.
that's how I get it, so.
Such a good point. right? Like we don't have to, and this comes back to what I was talking about earlier as far as like the valuations that we place on these things, right? Like the goodness and badness of things. For one, it's not really reality. Like there's no giant moral standard that everything falls under, right? But also, things like not participating, things like apathy or indifference, things like willfully choosing to not be at least intentional with how you exist can be tons worse, right? If you're an asshole, at least you're making a choice. At least you're putting your energy in a direction. Maybe people, a lot of people won't want to hang out with you, but at least you know who you are and everybody else knows who you are, right? So how do we, why are these valuable? Why are these meaningful? Why are these even things that we're talking about in the process of sobriety? What's the fucking point?
Well, we have to value our sobriety. We have to believe that we can actually keep it and it's no matter to us.
Sure.
I think like what was said earlier, we lose a lot of this in active addiction, and we don't know who we are. So it's important to talk about it, to like regain a little bit of a sense of self. And yeah.
Definitely.
For me, I guess it'd be, especially if being sober is the goal, it'd be figuring out how living sober is going to align with those values to such a degree where it actually spurs me to want to be sober forever.
So it kind of comes down to like behavior being the thing that ends up being most important. These inform it, right? But we also just said that even holding these values, allowed us to get into active addiction. So all of these things are important, but only important to the degree that they actually manifest in how you live and exist, right? How you actually behave out in the world. Okay, so at the end of the equation, but sort of like the important part of the equation is how do we get these to align, and then how do we act on them so that it becomes a reinforced cycle, right? Where you get to the point of behaving, setting goals, forecasting, right? You've shifted the trajectory of your life. Now there's this process of reassessment or reevaluation. How do we go about doing that?
We set goals.
Could be setting goals.
Plan.
All right, I'll try to ask a better question. Is this an individual process?
Shouldn't be.
Could be.
Exactly. Shouldn't be, could be. Okay.
Yes.
Shouldn't be, could be. Okay, so I said these are all very subjective, right? These are all individual. We probably all have some similarities in our individual values, beliefs, and meaning, but we don't have the same ones, right? So, can you articulate, when you say shouldn't be, what do you mean?
I mean that you're going to be a hell of a lot more successful if you help other people in this process, and then they can help you.
Good. So there's like some revert that's necessary.
Yes.
Good, I believe that. Could be.
Meaning you could value what other people think, what other people think that you should be setting as goals, or you could be like, fuck everybody, and like, I'll just set everything myself.
Yeah, you could.
And it may be subjective, but there have to be templates that can be universally accessible because we're all the same, biologically the same.
Yeah. So in one sense, what works for you could work for anybody else. And I think that's the thing that resonates most with me, right? Is these are not prescriptive, right? These are not deterministic, but they give us a framework, right? They give us something to look at instead of shouting into the void for help and hoping something happens. right? We can all look at this.
Reinventing the wheel, it's not always necessary.
Yeah, exactly. And again, like, these are things that are talked about in a variety of religious traditions, right? These are things that are talked about in fucking the Boy Scouts and the military, and right, there's all sorts of social institutions that use templates like this to modify behavior, right?
So, like, identifying your values would probably be a good step.
Yeah.
And then, yeah, okay. And then figuring out goals that align with those.
Yep. Okay, pause, take a picture of it real quick. Write it down if you don't have it written down.